In today's episode of the Pathmark Presents podcast, I have an interesting guest here with me today. I'm with Jake Schapelhouman, who is hailing over from Grain Discovery. And it's an interesting product. We're going to be learning about how he as a marketing lead is thinking about growth for the company and a little bit about his journey as a marketer as well. So Jake, welcome to the show.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Lucas. I really appreciate you bringing me on.
Very cool. Yeah, give us an overview, 360. What is Grain Discovery all about?
Yeah, so Grain Discovery is kind of, I don't know, it's a new age company kind of going along with the same theme of like blockchain and technology that you've seen so much growth recently. Grain Discovery is kind of a digital marketplace. We give grain elevators and farmers a chance to move online. We give them a platform and create apps and desktop equivalents for them to complete their trades, look at their contracts and all their information, and just give farmers a better way to be educated on what it is exactly they're selling, have all the information in one place, and make it easy to communicate for farmer and elevator.
Very cool. So tell us, when you say farmer, is that any type, any size of company? Is there specific size of where it makes sense? Is there certain conditions they have to meet in order to really leveraging the platform to its fullest? Maybe tell us a bit about what types of businesses really suit what you guys are doing.
That's a great question. So really what we're trying to hone in on is right now smaller elevators or mom and pop style elevators. Of course, we're always shooting for the bigger elevators there. But what we're really looking for is a rural community filled with grain elevators and farmers who, like many in the industry, might not have moved into more technologically advanced fields. So a lot of the time what we're seeing, and I might get a little off topic here, but what we're seeing is a little bit less technology than you might be used to in your day-to-day lives. Our consumers, our farmers, are just getting into really this technological boom. We talk a lot about how the most recent introduction has been like telephones and texting. Like it's been pretty much the same since our grandparents were doing it for a very long time. So we're trying to bring in this, usher in this age of technology and try and help these guys become more streamlined. We're trying to bring traceability, automation, all of these things to these farms who are trying to get into it. They might be younger or even older, but just looking to get into more technological and more efficient business practices.
Very cool. Now, how or who would you say within those like farms, like how should we imagine that, right? Is that like the actual owner? Is that is there even somebody who takes in bigger farms even takes on technology pieces and operations? Maybe tell us a bit more, who's reaching out to Grain Discovery?
Yeah. So a lot of the times it's a mixed bag. So we speak with lots of elevator owners, individual farmers, as well as marketing coordinators and sales coordinators inside these larger companies. But it's really a mixed bag. But the interesting thing that we've seen, and I know this obviously Pathmark's going to be about leveraging technology. A lot of what we're seeing in our marketing is that we almost have to move in the opposite direction of that, where we have to mix in both technology in terms of like social media advertising, SEO, all these these awesome technologies that we have today. But we're finding actually is we're kind of going backwards with our marketing, and not in the sense that we're doing something worse, but we're now operating with how can we reach people outside of these social media norms. You think about if you're advertising a large brand like Nike or something like that, you want to hit inner cities, you want to hit as many social media mediums as you possibly can. That isn't exactly the same thing with agriculture. Of course, there's still going to be people on Twitter, on all of these big social media platforms. It's absolutely monstrous for ag. But when you're trying to really start a conversation with individual elevators or farmers, it's much more difficult to reach them online. So what we found is that we have to go back to like flyers and posters, and we're trying to advertise on the side of some of these grain trucks, because really, when you're trying to reach this type of audience, social media might not be the best place to do it.
You were alluding to it already. Actually, I'm quite interested. Like, how do you think then about the website? Like, what role does the website play, having that sort of mixed journey of offline and online?
So it plays a very, very pivotal role, because at the end of the day, our marketing is all to draw them somewhere. You want to have this goal-oriented marketing plan where it's all right, we bring them from one place and guide them to another. And regardless if you're doing that via social media, via a physical medium, however you're doing it, having that hub is extremely important. So bringing them back to the website gives them access to everything. And so it doesn't matter if we're handing out flyers, postcards, or we're doing it over the Ethereum blockchain. At the end of the day, we're trying to bring them somewhere and give them our message in our space.
Very cool. And now talking a bit about the website, like, what do you currently think? Marketers are super critical about their page all the time. It's a continuously evolving piece. Like, what do you see as a sort of a major strength at the moment of the page versus where do you see room for further development and improvement?
Well, it's actually funny that you asked that question, because right now, as we speak, we're undergoing work on our website. We're really updating quite a few things. We've recently transitioned from, a startup company that is looking to bring in investors and bring in, interest and eyes for helping us grow. And we're more moving towards how do we bring in more customers? How do we emphasize, that transactional interaction? So we have to completely change the site in terms of what it's optimized to do. We have to bring in more ability for the farmers versus the elevators, instead of just here's a bunch of information for investors. Well, now we actually need to say, how do we bring in people? How do we get them to communicate with us? And how do we start that conversation with people that we're actually trying to sell to? So we're seeing a lot of changes in that aspect with, call to actions, tracking, and optimization, search engine optimization, obviously. But all of these tools that are helping us get a better view of what the customer is looking for and how we can continue keeping this, this fluid conversation going.
And what have you picked up over the years? Can be, with grain discovery, can be in previous roles. What have you picked up? Like, what is sort of like good ways of, you mentioned the call to actions and the tracking of ways to increase the amount of people that are, once they're on the website, actually getting in touch? Is there any tools, any methods, any approaches that you found to be helpful?
Yeah, and this kind of flows into just what the main tenet of grain discovery really is based on. It's simplicity. You want to make it as easy as possible for someone to jump on. It shouldn't be, you're filling out 3 or 4 different forms to gather all this information. It shouldn't be confusing how to get there. It shouldn't take a long time. It should be 1 or 2 clicks. It should be, get in, get out. We only have these people's attention for so long. What is the average attention span of someone today? A lot shorter than it was previously. And we need to really capitalize that and say, hey, we need one button to gather information, or to take down a note, gather one key piece of information and use that. So it doesn't matter if it's a name, it's a phone number, email, doesn't really matter. Try to get one piece of information from them that you can help establish that communication with, and then you can focus on the rest later. But just getting that first channel is what's important.
Very cool. I would love to switch gears a little bit and learn a little bit more about you as a marketer, because I think it's quite interesting for people to learn more about sort of how you keep on educating yourself, because you're in that very interesting spot where you kind of have to sort of bridge the gap between offline and online. And I think a lot of marketers find a big challenge in there. Like, how do you keep educating yourself? What are sort of your go-to resources? Where do you like to read? Where do you find information that's actually helpful for you in marketing with your specific sort of, situation?
Yeah. So that's actually recently what I've started doing is listening to podcasts like this. Podcasting is one of my favorite mediums. We've started doing a lot of advertising on there, just because we know that it's big and growing. We know that this space is somewhere where everyone can come to learn. It doesn't matter if you're trying to learn about sports, music, art, or business. There's going to be a podcast out there with people that are very smart and know exactly what they're talking about. And you can take that as an awesome medium to learn. You can be driving, you could be running, doesn't matter. These podcasts are growing and they're very educational and useful. So just like what you're doing here, I recommend for everyone to doesn't matter if it's Apple Music, Spotify, any other place, just search up whatever content you're interested in. Just search it up. There will be a podcast, and I will guarantee you will learn something that you didn't know before.
Very cool. To slowly sort of wrap up the interview, I would love to jump into our rapid fire questions to get to know you and your journey a little bit better. You ready for those?
Mm-hmm.
What's the last book you read, or the last podcast, for that matter, you listened to?
So the last podcast I listened to, actually, and this one I was just listening to it today, but I'm ashamed to admit it was more for fun than for learning. But it was Bill Simmons' podcast on sports and media. So he goes and talks about a bunch of different things. Doesn't matter if it's football, doesn't matter if it's movies, art. But what I've actually learned a lot from him, and it's a very indirect way, is just kind of go out and try a million different things. You're never going to know what you're good at until you actually go out and do it. And don't be shy about doing it. Like if you have something that you have a niche interest in, or you're just hearing about now, go join a group. Go listen to a podcast, join a group, go on Facebook, Twitter, doesn't matter. Go listen, go speak with people, because if it's something that you're kind of interested in, it's something that's going to make you happy first. And there's always a chance that you can make some money off of it too later.
Very nice. What is one single thing your company is focused on the most at the moment?
I think it has to be that customer interaction and trying to really create a dialogue between us and our potential clients and our current clients. What we want to show is that we're not some mega corporation that is very distant from their clients and customers and doesn't have that human interaction. We're a startup. We're a couple of years old. What we want to say is, hey, we're here for you. We're just like you. We're working people. We care about the product a lot more than as someone who's working for this enormous mega corporation. There's a lot of autonomy, and it really feels that we're part of a family almost. So I think that really is a big thing for us, is just feeling like a connected group of people who really have a good conversation with the people that we're working for and with.
If there would be no boundaries in technology, right? Everything would be possible. What's the one thing you would fix for your role today?
Oh, wow. Fix with this role. I think it's just time management. I'm not sure what exactly it would be. Maybe it's an automated second Jake that I can get out to do some of the little tasks. But I'm sure this is mirrored by every single person that's ever worked in any company, but especially a startup. Really, you have to figure out what you need to spend your time on. You don't have time to be doing every single little thing, even though you probably need to. Figuring out just how to get all those little things that pop up every now and again, so I can focus on the big picture things. And I think that's something I try to, and my mentors have tried to instill in me, is just time management and prioritization, figuring out what's super important and dealing with the things that do pop up and still are equally important, but achieving those goals that you set out to at the beginning of the month or the week or even the day, and just saying, look, I have one thing that I want to get done and I know it's super important, and there's other things that will pop up, but having the technology to get all those little things and prioritize the big things is my goal, wish, whatever you want to call it.
Very cool. And for the very last question, right, I would love to ask you, if today would be your very first day joining Grain Discovery, what's the one advice you would give yourself?
Oh, wow. Feedback. It's just go search for feedback all the time. Doesn't matter if it's, you're building your newest social media campaign. It doesn't matter if it's, figuring out how to operate search engine optimization in general. Go ask for help. Go look for people on your team who might know more than you do. Go speak with every single person you can. It doesn't matter if it's someone working in the mailroom or it's your CEO. Go speak with them. They have something to share, and they have something that you could learn from them. So go get your feedback. It'll always help you get better.
Jake, I really appreciate you took the time with us today to sort of share a bit more about the world of grain discovery. If basically somebody would be forgetting all that we discussed today about grain discovery and growth in your industry, what's the one thing that they should remember about grain discovery?
You got to be careful how quickly something grows. Like you want it bad. You want something to really blow up and become bigger than it was. But I don't think anyone's ever really prepared for when that does happen. You suddenly have more people to hire, you have more workload to manage, you have more responsibility. It's a blessing, and I don't even want to call it a curse, because it mostly is just a blessing, but you have to be prepared for it. It becomes a lot of work very suddenly. It's something that you're aspiring to that whole time, but once it actually sneaks up on you and kicks you in the bum there, you're in high gear, and you didn't expect it. And well, you did and hoped for it and expected it, but a small party was like, oh my God, I can't. Yeah. Oh, here it is suddenly.
Very cool. Jake, I really appreciate you took the time with us today to be guest on Pathfund Presents. So
my pleasure.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for being on the show.
No, it's my pleasure. And if I could just follow up with one little thing that I want to share with everyone. If it doesn't matter if what you're working in, go check out a counselor. Mental health therapist is so important in today's age. Go speak with your friends, family, get that support system going, because it is the most important thing in your life and your job is your health. So go speak with people. Don't be afraid, and know that everyone's got your back.
There you go. That's a very nice plug at the very end. Thanks a lot.
No, my pleasure. Thank you very much, Lucas.